What's up, everybody? Welcome to Human Innovation Tarot. My name is Eddie with Imagine Life Development Center. And basically, guys, in this video, this is kind of an impromptu reading or video that I felt inspired to sit down and do for you guys. I wasn't really sure. I was trying to. I just posted a video about getting feedback on my channel. So I've just been trying to think of like what kinds of stuff that I can upload, and just brainstorming the next videos and content and things that the types of readings that I want to do for you guys. And I was like, well, since I've got everything turned on and set up, I might as well just go ahead and do a reading. And so I thought, well, what can I do? And what came to mind is, I guess, for lack of better words, something that I guess maybe moving forward, I'll just call it a soul tribe reading. But what this reading is about, and who it is for, would be those of you that are really focused on your spiritual journey. Like, this isn't necessarily just a love reading. It's not necessarily about career or money. This is about your soul's path, like your destiny, your purpose in life, basically, your calling, your spiritual calling, right? And so for those of you that feel like you or that that you have a spiritual call in your life, and maybe you're just not, it doesn't matter where you are on your in that journey, right? We're all in different places on our spiritual journey. But this is more for guidance, right? Wherever you are on your journey, whether you feel like I'm not really sure what my purpose in life is, or I kind of know what it is, but I haven't really started, or I've started and maybe I just feel like I'm at the beginning stages of it, or no, I've been on my spiritual path for quite a while, and it's just always good to get an update from the divine about just anything that I need to know, right? So that's kind of what this video, I guess, will be. And again, I'm just opening up, messages to come as I go here, because I didn't come here with any specific destination in mind. So I'm really kind of free flowing here. All right, if you can't tell. So the first thing that I did want to start off with, though, also just really quick before I forget, if you're new to the channel, welcome. While I have your attention, please click the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It's completely free for you guys, and it shows me support. I believe in energetic reciprocity, which essentially just everything is energy, right? Your intention is energy. And so if you're consuming something that I'm creating and you find value, then you can reciprocate that energy by showing me that you appreciate the content by subscribing to the channel, liking the information. And again, it's completely free for you, right? So the first thing that the divine did give me that I wanted to share with you all is what we need to do this year. It's a major theme, and I've talked about it in I talked about a little bit about it in a video, which again, and I'll keep saying this until probably June or July of this year. It's the two most important videos that I will upload until June or July of this year. And if you go back to my videos, the playlist or the videos, you'll see a 2-part video. It's called the Universal Year 9, Part 1 and Part 2, because we are in a Universal Year 9. 2025, you add up 2025, it reduces to the number 9. And in numerology, cycles happen in 9-year cycles. It's 9-year cycles. So we are at 2025 is the end of a 9-year cycle. So 2026 will start a whole new 9-year cycle. But this 9-year cycle, or the end of this previous 9-year cycle, this one's going to be intense, to say the least. And I don't feel like it takes a rocket scientist to notice that maybe the last 9 years have been insane, especially the last 5 years, right? Like so much has probably happened in your guys' life in the last 9 years and even just the last 5 years. Like it just seems like every year that we've gone further into this past 9-year cycle, it's just gotten crazier and crazier and crazier. And so thankfully, we're at the last year, right? And so we're finally going to close out this major cycle here that we've gone through. But we do have to get through this year to get to 2026, which is going to start the new 9-year cycle. So we're not out of the woods just yet. And obviously we don't know what's going to happen necessarily this year, but what I can tell you and what I've predicted is, and I talk about all this in that video, so I'm not going to completely rehash it here because you can just go watch that 2-part video. But there's essentially going to be 2 groups of people. There are going to be those of you that are essentially, you're stuck, you're just doing life doing the same thing, expecting a different result, just going about life, not really making any changes, not really making any adjustments. You're just kind of in zombie mode, Groundhog's Day mode. You just get up, you just do the same thing, and expect a different, whether you expect a different result or not, you're just kind of like doing the hamster wheel life, the Groundhog's Day life. Well, depending on where you are and your awareness of where you stand within your life and your destiny, you might end up in, again, there's 2 groups of people. You might end up in the group of people where this year could potentially be one of the worst years of your life. And the reason that this is because we're all having to confront this year, whether we like it or not, myself included, everybody's included in this process. The divine is essentially putting us through kind of like a filter. Like, I have the image of like, if you guys have ever seen one of those things, it's like a screen, and people who dig, they go out and they dig in the dirt and they put the dirt on a screen, and you shake the screen and it allows the dirt to sink down, and anything that's left or hidden in the dirt stays on the top of the filter. Well, that's kind of like what's happening, basically. It's like we're all being placed on this big filter, and the divine is going to basically sift every single person this year in some way, shape, or form to essentially see where we are collectively, right? And so for those of us who are focused on our mission, you're focused on your purpose, you get it, and you're doing it, and you're on your mission, you're on task, you're following through, and you're in the good side, well, then potentially this year might be one of the best years of maybe your entire life. And I don't say this lightly. When I say this could potentially be the best or worst year of your entire life, I mean exactly that. Like I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, you could look back and go, man, 2025 was one of the worst years of my life. Other people will say 2025 was the best year of my entire life. Like this year is going to potentially, be one or the other. So, I know which group I want to be in. Like I definitely don't want any more I don't want any more crap going on in my life. I've gone through enough crap in the last 9 years. This year is definitely, I'm determined to make sure that this year is not going to put me in the bad category. So, I'm going to be over here focused on making sure that this is going to be one of the best years of my life. So again, you guys can go watch those 2 videos. I explain all of it there. That's why it's a 2-part video, because it's a lot of information. Part 1 is a lot more of like just the channeled information. Part 2, there is a reading at the end of it, which again is good for half the year. So June or July. Now, with all that in mind, this is kind of like a checkup, a check-in, right? Like where are we right now? What is the divine wanting to tell us, those of us that are over here? You're focused on, you want this to be the best year of your life. You don't want this to be the worst year of your life. And so for those of you that have clicked off the video, they're just like, man, I don't give a crap. It's like, you know, okay, that's fine. No harm, no foul. You can, you know, you this isn't, you know, you're not interested in making any changes, or maybe you feel like there's nothing you need to change. You're just happy and content doing with whatever, wherever your life is. And again, no judgment from me. But those of you, you feel hungry, you want more, you're unhappy, you're unfulfilled, but you're willing to work, you're willing to put in the effort, or maybe you guys out there are you're doing the thing already. You're kind of like me. You wake up every day and, you know, you're just like, all right, you know, guide me, show me, what do I need to do today? Like you're already self-motivated. You're already connected to the divine, and you're just always making yourself available for that divine guidance, right? Well, then this video is going to be for you guys, because you guys are proactive, you're powerful people, you want more, you're ready for change, you're not sitting back, you're not just expecting, you know, things to just happen for you. You're not lazy, you're motivated in some way, shape, or form. Even if you're not where you want to be, there's a part of you that wants more. And that's all that divine needs, right? There's that whole concept of a mustard seed of faith in the Bible. It's a mustard seed of anything. It's a mustard seed of inspiration, a mustard seed of motivation, a mustard seed of creativity, a mustard seed of willingness to do something that you haven't done, a mustard seed of taking a step. The tiniest little bit of effort, the divine can work with you. What the divine can't work with is resistance, and the divine won't violate our free will, right? And you guys hear me say this all the time on this channel, that there's only two non-negotiables that the divine has with all of us. The divine will not violate our free will, and the divine will not give us anything that's not in our highest good. So moving forward, the first message, and I'm going to pull some cards here in just a minute. So this is going to I'm just going to get the concept that the divine wants me to share with you guys first, and then I'm going to grab some cards, and I'm going to, get some more information. So there's going to be a reading here in just a second. But the main theme that the divine wanted me to discuss with you all, and it's something that I'm working through it just as much as anybody. I'm just as human as you guys. But to master anything, we just have to do it more and more and more and more, right? And so the concept or the topic that the divine wants me to talk about tonight is learning how to deal with uncertainty and the unknown. Because if there's anything that keeps us stuck more than anything else, what keeps us stuck is inaction. It's staying in our comfort zone. And you can have the best ideas in the world, you can feel motivated, you can feel like, oh my God, like you can have a reading, you can have the best reading, you could have anything in your life. You could have an experience that motivates you, inspires you, or you gain knowledge, or you read a book, or you watch a tarot reading, or you get a reading. Like, knowledge and information alone isn't going to change our lives. We have to act. We have to respond. And for those of us that are on the spiritual journey, we have to live, literally, we have to live a lot more in the realm of faith than not, which is not something that most people are wired to do. Most people are wired to live in their security, their safety, their certainty, their comfort zone, and what they know and what they can control, right? And that's why most people stay in Groundhog's Day, doing the same thing day in, day out, because they've created the illusion of certainty in their daily routines. It's the thing that they feel that they have control over. And when it's routine and they do it over and over and over and over again every single day, and there's not a lot of unknowns, there's not a lot of uncertainty, there's not a lot of variables, there's not a lot of surprises, then it feels very safe and it's very secure. But the problem with that is, obviously, you live a very boring life, you miss out on life, and you're just getting older and older and older and older, and, life is passing you by, and you never get to see, you never get to explore, you never get to find out what was truly possible for you. So the longer we stay in our comfort zone, the more we miss out in life. And that's just for the average person. Now, for those of us that have a spiritual call, it's totally different, because we don't, in my experience, and maybe you guys can leave comments and let me know what you think, or what your experience has been. But in my experience, we don't even have that. We don't even have that luxury. Like, if you have a spiritual calling in your life and you think you can just do Groundhog's Day, you're like, nah, I'm just going to ignore it, and I'm just going to go and do the white picket fence, day in, day out, daily grind, and live in my comfort zone. Well, in my experience, the divine is like, no, that's not what you signed up for. So we actually experience a totally different type of purpose depression, a totally different type of unfulfillment and a void in our soul. Like, it's almost like the divine will not leave us alone. It's like you're going to get tower moments. Your life's going to be blown up. Nothing's going to work out for you. No relationship's going to work out for you. It's just like your life's going to be constantly chaotic. And the minute that you think that you've found something, you're like, okay, well, I finally found a secure job, and I've got this little relationship going, and you think it's like, okay, all right. And maybe the divine will give you a few years of you thinking that nothing's it's like, okay, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or in my case, I went 10 years just doing, coasting through life. And then, but when it was time, when that time was up, the divine is like, nope. And boom, tower moment. My life blew up. And after that moment, any time I tried to go back to being that same way, or if I was like trying to like live the same way I was before, the divine's like, nope. It's instantaneously, I would have negative effects. It was almost like there was no way that I could go back. It's like if I tried to go back to an old version of me, or an old pattern, or an old way of doing something, I was immediately blocked, or there was pain, or there was something that happened. I was redirected. It's like the divine just was behind me, pushing me forward. Like, it's almost like I didn't have a choice. I mean, I did have a choice, but it felt like in a way you don't. It's like, yeah, you can choose to sit in the chaos and the suffering, but the divine knows how to apply just the right amount of pressure to keep you moving forward. Like, all right, keep going. But when I finally started to wake up and realize what was happening, then I didn't need the divine to, kick me in the ass to get me going. I was self-motivated, because I realized, oh, I get it now. I'm not supposed to live the mundane Groundhog's Day life. I didn't come here to be plugged into the matrix. Like, I'm here to actually serve a higher purpose. And so when I got that, and then I started pursuing it on my own accord, then I started to experience a level of fulfillment that I was longing for. It's like the fulfillment that I was looking for in the mundane, the Groundhog's Day and the picket fence life and all that shit. I found it on my soul's path, on my soul's journey. I was like, oh, that's where the fulfillment is. And the divine's like, that's right. That's what I've been trying to show you. I was trying to lead you to the fulfillment the whole time. You just weren't seeing it. But once you see it, and once you get it, and once you're on board, it's a game changer. Because now you just know, like, okay, all I need to do is just keep going this way. Focus on your calling, focus on your purpose in life, focus on your spiritual mission. And the fulfillment, the resources, the people, the soul tribe, the money, the career, whatever the things are that you're wanting are on that path. And we may not get them all at once. And there may be other hurdles and challenges that we have to go through and experience, because we're always learning and growing, and life is not perfect. But it's a different experience. And there's certainly a different level of fulfillment that's attached to those experiences when we submit ourselves to that experience. Willfully submit ourselves, I should say, right? Which is the most which is desirable, essentially. So, with all that being said, is whether you're a regular normal person or whether you're a spiritual person, that you know you have a call and destiny in life. If you are a human being in general, most human beings are uncomfortable when it comes to uncertainty, meaning the things that we cannot control, that we do, that take us by surprise, or just the unknown, the fear of the unknown, the fear of, well, I wish I could do that, start a business, start this, do that, go after this person, acquire that thing, like whatever the thing is that we're afraid to do. And there's some type of fear that keeps us in our comfort zone or prevents us from doing the thing, right? Apologizing to someone, forgiving someone, taking a first step, sending a message out of fear of rejection, pursuing somebody, asking somebody out, applying for a job because we feel like, well, what if I don't get it? Or what if I'm not qualified? Or what if they choose somebody else? Starting a business, like, well, I've never started a business before, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if, right? And so we what if ourselves into our, we what if ourselves back into a corner. Essentially, we back ourselves into the what if corner. And we stay there because, there's no risk involved. But the spiritual journey requires faith without works is dead. We walk by faith, not by sight, right? So especially, again, and this message is mostly for those of you who feel like you have a spiritual destiny, a spiritual call, okay? That's the majority or the main people that I'm speaking to right now. And so, you have a spiritual destiny, a spiritual call in your life, but maybe you've been playing it safe. You've been scared to take action. You've been scared to take the steps. So that's what I'm talking about. I know this was like a really, really long lead up here, but this is what the divine gave me, right? So I'm just gonna draw here an illustration or to make this point here, right? So this is what we're gonna down here. Hold on. Let me see if I got a marker that will. Another red marker here. Let's try this one. These dry erase markers are very, very old. Okay, that one works good. So we have the red here. I'm going to hold it up to the camera in just a second too, so don't worry. And then we have this. I'm going to put a C in the middle for comfort zone. All right. And then let me get a little bit more red. There we go. All right. Now, we're going to do, on this side, we're going to do blue. Over here, we're going to put P, the letter P, and the letter D for Diddy. No, not P Diddy. And over here, we're going to put the letter F for fulfillment. Okay. So we have pain and despair. That's what the PD stands for, not P Diddy. And we have the C is a comfort zone. I'll put a little Z in the middle. So CZ, comfort zone. And then we have F for fulfillment. So this is the reality of what we're facing for those of us on this spiritual journey. And again, I'm talking about this year specifically. Now, yes, this topic, this information is relevant all the time. But again, the main purpose of this video is to talk about just this year. Because we want to make sure that we don't end up in the category where this ends up being one of the worst years of our lives because we stayed here. We stayed in the comfort zone. We want to make sure that this is one of the best years of our lives. And so the F could also stand for faith. So faith equals fulfillment. Pain and despair is obviously a result of fear. So here's the thing for all of us on the spiritual journey here. We need to understand and become more aware of what's keeping us in our comfort zone. The first thing we need to do is we just need to acknowledge that we're there or we're not there, right? Because anything that we're in denial of, we can't change, we can't fix, we can't adjust. It's like a blind spot, basically. Well, it's in our human nature, okay? The job of the human brain, or what we will just call the ego, is to keep us safe. Your brain, your ego, doesn't give two shits if you're happy or you're sad, depressed or unfulfilled or unhappy. Your brain is just like, its primary function is keep you safe and keep you alive. And as long as it can basically keep you safe and keep you alive according to all the information and feedback and the patterns and beliefs and the values and all the things you've experienced all the way up until this point in your life, because it's always constantly collecting data, collecting feedback, collecting data, collecting feedback. And it's always keeping tabs on, okay, how do I keep us safe in real time? The problem though with that is that when we allow the ego to run our lives, we stay here in the comfort zone. Problem with that though is that, yes, while the tendency of being in the comfort zone, or I should say maybe the temptation of being in the comfort zone, is that, yes, we might avoid some degree of pain and despair, it's also cock blocking us from experiencing fulfillment and progress. And so inevitably what ends up happening is a reverse effect. If we stay in the comfort zone for too long, there's another verse in the Bible. And the reason that I'm referring to the Bible so much is just because I grew up very religious. I'm not that way anymore, but I grew up that way. And so, I just have all of that stuff stuck in my memory, from back when, I memorized Bible verses and all these things. And it's not that the Bible isn't still a very profound spiritual manuscript if you understand it from a spiritual point of view. But there's somewhere in there's a Bible verse that says, be hot or be cold, or God will spit you out of its mouth. And essentially, what it's saying is not to be lukewarm, and being lukewarm is being in between hot and cold. So if hot is like going after what you want, it's the fulfillment, and being cold is being in fear, depression, unfulfillment, lukewarm is right in the middle. And for you Star Wars fans, we'll just quote Master Yoda. What did he say to Luke Skywalker? Do or do not. There is no try. That's it. That's what he told Luke. He was trying to teach Luke to tap into the power of the Force. He wanted Luke to raise, Luke's little fighter jet ship sunk into the swamp, and he was stressed out about it. And, and basically Master Yoda's like, well, use the Force, dude. Pull it out. And he's like, well, I'll try. But he was looking at the size of the ship and comparing it and thinking, well, I've only learned how to lift a rock using the Force. This spaceship is like, 1,000 times bigger than a rock. And so he was comparing it. He was thinking that those things were different because he was looking at it from using his eyes, right? He's like, man, this thing is so big and this is so small. I only know how to move a small thing. I don't know how to move this big thing. And Master Yoda's like, no, they're both the same, right? But Luke had to try and fail. And then when Master Yoda, he used the Force and he lifts the ship out and brings it over to the shore or whatever. And Luke Skywalker's, he's in awe. He's astonished. And he goes, I don't believe it. And Master Yoda looks at him and goes, that is why you failed. He's like, judge me by my size, do you? He's like, look at me. I'm just this tiny little creature. It's not the size. It's understanding the power that you have. And so that's kind of the similar concept of what that Bible verse is talking about. It's a similar concept of here, right? So this is the do side, do or do not. There is no try. Comfort zone is just existing. We're in the comfort zone and we're afraid and we're unsure, we're uncertain, we're unwilling to step outside of our comfort zone to go after our fulfillment through faith, then, we're in a different type of suffering. Whereas over here, and inevitably what it will end up happening is we'll end up in pain and despair. Because, the longer we stay in our comfort zone, eventually we're going to end up in pain and despair at some point. It's just, we're trying to avoid the obvious pain and despair of like common sense things, right? Like we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to get betrayed. We don't want to lose our job. We don't want to have, we're not out looking for a crisis to go through in life. So, but we're afraid to take risks because we're afraid that if we take the risk, we take the leap of faith, if we step out of our comfort zone, that we're going to end up in pain and despair. We've already bought into the belief that stepping outside of our comfort zone, we're expecting the worst case scenario, basically is what I'm trying to say. But is that true? Right? Is that really true? And so this is where the test of faith comes in. And again, for those of you that this video is intended for, I'm speaking to my soul tribe members out there. You have a spiritual call. You have, a meaning and a purpose and a destiny in life. That you're not here to do, white picket fence, plugged into the matrix, just go to your 9-to-5 job and come home, do your laundry, watch your TV shows, go to sleep, rinse and repeat, and then just do that until you retire and you die. That's not who I'm talking about here. I'm talking about those of you that that you have a purpose, a meaning and a purpose beyond just existing, beyond just waking up, breathing air, and just existing. That's who this video is for. And so what the divine is wanting and needing from us during this year, the divine is needing us to learn and challenge ourselves in embracing the uncertainty, spiritual uncertainty, the amount of fulfillment that is possible for us on this journey, myself included, the amount of fulfillment that is possible. So it's like, again, take, how much fulfillment do you want? Do you want just a tiny little bit? Do you want like a Skittle? Do you want one Skittle out of the bag? Do you want, if you go out and you're really hungry or you're starving, and you're, man, I really, really, really want nachos. Do you just want one nacho? You're starving. Just one nacho. That's it. That's all. Or you want a steak and you just cut the tiniest little corner off that steak and you eat it. Is that all you want? Or do you want to enjoy it? Like, no, I want, like if you wanted a glass of wine, for example, or your favorite drink, whatever, you just want one tiny little sip and then it's like, okay, that's it. I don't want anything else. Or it's like, no, I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy my bag of Skittles. I want to enjoy my steak. I want to enjoy my glass of wine, right? Or let's say it was financial. We'll use a money example. Let's say that you're, wherever you do for a career or work, or if you're a business owner, let's say that somebody, your employer gave you either a raise or a customer of yours, they gave you an extraordinary, they just blessed you. They gave you a tip, like a beyond, like exceedingly, right? And so like, let's say your employer is like, I'm going to give you a raise. Like, I'm going to give you like a 10% raise or a 20% raise. But are you just going to go, nah, I only need like 0.5% of that. And they're like, I'm going to give you a 20% raise. And you're like, no, I just want 0.05%. Or a customer comes in, and they're like, hey, thank you so much for your service today. Here's $1,000, a tip, $1,000 tip. Are you gonna make, no, just $1 is fine. I don't need the 999 other dollars. I'll just take $1. That's it. Like, no, you're going to accept the blessing. That wouldn't make sense. And so what the divine is saying is that the amount or the level of blessing, the amount of fulfillment that is available to us is up to our discretion. And it's up to our discretion in the amount of how much uncertainty, how much of the unknown can we comfortably tolerate to access that fulfillment? Because that's what's going to be required of us. That's what co-creating with the divine on your spiritual journey looks like. It's not the divine's just going to map it all out for you and tell you what to do and give it everything up, hand it all to you up front. It's, and I talked about this in other videos on my channel. In my experience, the miracle, 95% of the time, the miracle happens in the moment. It's like, okay, yes, the divine will give you insights, will give you ideas. It'll give you somewhere to start. And you're like, okay, it's a starting point. So you start, but you have to start, right? It's like, okay, whether it's books, resources, you meet somebody, you meet a friend or some synchronicity, however that resource comes to you, the opportunity comes to you, the revelation, the idea, the creation comes to you, right? And it's floating around in your mind. Let's say you wanted to write a book. It's like, well, I've got the concept for the book. I know what the chapters are. I know what I need to write about. I know the audience that I'm wanting to write to. I know what I'm wanting to talk about, what I'm wanting to help with, or whatever your thing is, right? Whatever your unique call and destiny is on your spiritual journey. You get the thing in the moment, but then you have to use the thing that you've been given before the next thing comes, right? It's like we can't expect to just get it all at once. We can't be like, okay, well, so like, let's say you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you want to start a business, or, I don't know, you want to do energy healing, or you want to do past life regression, or just whatever. I don't know. I'm just making something up. And it's like, okay. And you're trying to think about all the things. You're overwhelming yourself by trying to figure it all out in a single moment. And because you're trying to think about all at once, you're overwhelming yourself. It's creating more and more fear that's going to keep you in the comfort zone instead of inspiring you to move towards it. Because the more that you think about it and the more uncertainty you experience, the less likely you are to step out of your comfort zone and actually start taking steps. And so, since you're not necessarily experiencing a lot of pain or despair either, you're not really being motivated that way. Because all change, not some change, all major change is the result of one or two things. Either inspiration or desperation. That's it. All change is one or the other. When it comes down to the end, at the end of the day, as human beings, we are either inspired by pain or we are avoiding, I said that backwards. We're either being inspired by pleasure or we're trying to avoid pain. It's pain or pleasure at the most fundamental psychological level. We do things, we move towards things that we believe are going to be pleasurable, and we avoid things and we move away from things that we think are going to be painful. Now, this is a psychological fact. We will do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. Okay? We will do more to avoid the pain than we will to gain pleasure. So, how do we end up in the comfort zone? Well, the reason that we end up in the comfort zone is because the amount of pleasure that we're looking for or we're hoping to achieve is not more than the fear of the uncertainty of what it's going to take to obtain it. In other words, we're not inspired enough, nor are we desperate enough. We're right in the middle. I'm not inspired enough, I'm not motivated enough to step outside of my comfort zone and just go for it, full blast, fuck it, I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to take the leap of faith, I'm going to go for it. But I'm also not desperate enough. I'm not inspired enough, but I'm not desperate enough. Desperation is like, my life depends on it. Like desperation is like, I don't have a job, and I'm about to be homeless if I don't find one. Like I'm talking like when it gets down to your like legit primal survival needs, like literal desperation. And so when we are stuck between those two worlds, when we're stuck between inspiration and desperation, we're not inspired enough to go for what we want, but we're not experiencing enough pain to be motivated to change, we end up in the comfort zone. And then we just stay in the comfort zone and life passes us by because, we're not going to, we don't have to risk the fear of what might happen by actually putting work and effort into our creations or our motivations or our spiritual destiny or our journey, whatever that looks like for you. So this is the thing that the divine is wanting to address because so many of us, the divine is here to help us. Okay, the divine is a lot of you guys. You have revelations, you have ideas, you have creative ideas, and we're all in different places in our spiritual journey. And for those of you that know what you're supposed to be doing and you just haven't done it yet, or you're not taking those steps, like whatever the next level of uncertainty is that you're facing, because there's always going to be the next level. It doesn't matter. It's like, okay, well, I overcame the uncertainty of what if my idea sucks? Okay, we overcame that and you created the thing, or you just started writing the thing. Like, let's say it's a book. Like, okay, I started writing the book. And then you overcame the uncertainty well, what if I'm not a good writer? But it's like, well, I wrote a thing and that's actually pretty good. And I got feedback from people and they're like, no, your book's really good. What you're writing is really good. And so now you have confidence and you're like, well, I don't know if I can finish it because, I'll work on it and then I'll put it down. I'll work on it and then I'll put it down. It's inconsistent. And so it's taken you a long time, but then you finally finish it. And by the way, I'm using myself as an example here. So everything that I'm saying, I've gone through this literally. So finally you finish it and then you get a finished product. And now you're holding this thing. You're holding this thing, this tangible thing that you created from nothing. This item that I'm holding in my hands came into existence from just a bunch of invisible, intangible stuff that was inside of my mind. And I took the invisible information that was inside of my mind. I typed it all out. I organized it. I created, well, not just me. Somebody else helped me create this. The cover. I co-created this artwork, and then I had an amazing editor who helped, double check everything, and then the editor went a step further and did some cool little things on the inside, like picking the text, certain fonts, and just little things here and there that are really cool. And then finally, it was all done. And then you get a box in the mail, and it's like, holy crap. This thing, I created this thing that took me over 5 years. And the first one that I tried to create, I got halfway finished with it, and then I deleted it. I didn't use any of it. I scrapped the whole thing, and I started all the way back over again. So this book right here, the first book that I tried to write, I started in 2016. I remember exactly where I was. I remember exactly where I was, what I was doing, and I remember typing on the very first page. And I had that idea for that book all the way up until 2019. And so between 2016 and 2019, I had learned so much more information. I was like, this is not the book that I want to write anymore. I've learned too much. I need to write something else. Because if I continue to write this book and I release this book, not the one in my hand, but the one that I didn't finish, the one that I deleted, I was like, no one's going to benefit from that. And I'm not going to write something that I myself would find no value in. I was like, I need to create something new that's updated. And so from 2019 until 2023, it took me almost 5 years to write what's in my hand. I could have done it sooner, but again, small steps forward, small steps back, and I've done the same thing. I started my second book in 2023. And so, I'm getting close to finishing my second book. It's not going to take as long as it took me to get this one because I learned a lot. But once I proved to myself this, I stepped out into the unknown, not knowing what to do or how to do it, how I was going to do it. No one taught me what to do. No one taught me how to do this. I just knew that I was called to do it. And every step of the way, I learned, I grew, and eventually the thing became a reality. And so that's just the nature of life. And so the divine is wanting to encourage all of us, all of you that are still listening to this. The point of this message and the point of this drawing is that the divine needs us as spiritual leaders, especially this year. You feel called in some way, shape, or form. Maybe just watching this video. Maybe maybe you've been pumping the brakes about just answering the call in your life. It's like, look, I know that, I've had a mission and a destiny and a purpose on a call on my life. Excuse me. And I've been avoiding it. I've been running from it. Or I've not known what it is. So, or maybe it's just been very scary or terrifying. And so maybe you're watching this video and you're like, you know what? This is more synchronicities, more feedback, more signs from the divine, encouraging me, trying to push me out of the comfort zone and have faith. If you want to walk on water, you got to step out of the boat. So this is the divine pushing me to come out of my comfort zone and say, okay, it's time to answer the call. I know what that's like because I didn't answer the call until January of 2023. I had and the divine was on my ass from 2019 until January of 2023. And I was lost. I was putting the pieces together. And then once I finally had all the pieces in front of me, I was at a fork in the road. Because at that point, it's like, you can go this way and you can keep doing what you're doing and you can go this way. That's a choice that you have. Or you can get on the bus, so to speak, or you can catch the flight and you can move towards your destiny. It's up to you. But the bus isn't going to be here forever, just like a plane, like you have to be at the airport by a certain time to catch your plane. Otherwise, you're going to miss your flight. And that's what the divine was here telling me. It's like, dude, you're going to miss your flight, bro. The bus is here. You either need to get on or you need to get off, basically, at this point. And so, because I was in that middle ground, I was in that comfort zone. And I was experiencing other challenging things at that very moment in my time, at that time of my life in 2023. So I was like, man, like this is brutal, man. Like I got this other thing going on that I'm trying to figure out that's very important to me. But I'm being told, I'm basically being given like a yes sir. I'm being given an ultimatum by the divine. Like, look, dude, you get on the bus now or it's leaving. What are you going to do? I was like, Jesus Christ. I don't have time to think about this. And it's true. Sometimes we don't. And that's where we need to be. Sometimes we need to be placed into either inspiration or desperation. And because the comfort zone is the illusion that we have more time. Well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, eventually you're going to run out of tomorrows, and the divine is going to make the decision for you. And so I can tell you from just my experience, again, as the messenger, and somebody who's going through this experience and has gone through these experiences. Ride the inspiration wave. Don't wait for the divine to have to blow your life up with the tower or apply pressure, or even if it's not the divine, just you. Don't wait for you to have to fall into a level of mediocrity and unfulfillment and despair and unhappiness and depression and anxiety. Like you just hate your life. You're just miserable all the time. And it's just because you're not growing. And that's a fundamental law of life. If we're not growing, we're dying. Right? There's no evolution. There's no growth. There's no excitement. There's no stimulation. There's nothing to live for. That's what spiritual bankruptcy is. It's we're strangling our soul. So, it's not that the divine is this evil or, asshole persona or entity or whatever that, it tries to, when it tries to use kind of pain as a leverage to get us into motion. It's just that we need it, right? Sometimes we need to have a fire lit under our ass, so to speak. And it's for our own good. In that moment, it doesn't feel like it because we're so used to the comfort zone. But once we're in gear, once you're motivated, once you're on your path and you've come out of despair mode and you've gotten into inspired mode, inspiration, meaning in spirit, to be inspired means to be in spirit. So now you're being inspired, you're motivated. And then when you start to do things that you didn't think you could do, because the divine is there with you, helping you and assisting you in those moments that you take those steps and leaps of faith, which is why the miracle happens in the moment, then all of a sudden life becomes very exciting because you're like, my God, like the spiritual life is magical. I mean, it really is like kind of supernatural, magical, and mystical. You just kind of go out there and like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to do this because I feel like, and the closer you get to the divine and the more you trust the divine, it's like you stop questioning it. It's like the divine, I feel like the divine is wanting me to say this or do this or create this or go here or do this. Things that you don't know what the outcome's going to be, but you know that the divine has its hand on it. So there's this big question mark. Like, okay, well, what's about to happen here? I know it's going to be something crazy or something wild or something cool. So let's just find out. And then you do the thing and you're like, oh my God, it was crazy. It was wild. It was cool. Because you were trusting the divine. But there was uncertainty. You didn't know what was going to happen. And so the purpose of all this is the divine is the instruction to us, the message to us from the divine is, will you trust me? Will you learn to trust me? And there's no secret recipe for this. There's no magic pill for this, guys. You just have to do it. You just have to try it, right? It's like a trust fall. That exercise, put a blindfold on or close your eyes, stand up straight and just fall backwards and let your friends catch you. It's a trust fall. There's no other way to do it until you just do it. It's like learning. It's if you ever, when you're riding a bike, if you've ever tried to ride with no hands, you're holding onto the handlebars and then you just let go for a second and then you grab them again and you just see how long you can go. How long can I go without holding onto the handlebars? And then you grab. Anytime you feel like uncertain or you feel a little wiggle or something, you grab onto the handlebars and you regain control. Well, that's all the divine wants. The divine is not saying, hey, I need you to just completely not have any, the divine's not asking you to let go of the handlebars altogether. The divine is just saying, how long can you let go of the handlebars to allow me to show you that I've got it? And the more that you do it, the longer you'll learn to let go. And so I'm in the same place in my life. I know kind of where I am in my time, right? It's like, okay, how long can I let go in this season of my life regarding the things that the divine has called me to before I need to regain, to grab onto those handlebars again and go, okay, all right, try again, Eddie. We're all human. But in order for us to move forward this year, especially those of us, again, who have a spiritual destiny, a spiritual call, it's absolutely critical for us to learn the art of spiritual uncertainty or the art of faith. Two words for the same thing. We can call it spiritual uncertainty or you can call it faith. And again, faith is just trusting the divine in situations that are very uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen, right? Because if you knew what was going to happen, if you knew the end from the beginning, if you knew, all the steps in between, you knew all the things, it wouldn't require faith. Because the whole concept of faith is about things that are unknown or unseen, right? So, hopefully this analogy makes sense, or the illustration makes sense. Again, this is all very impromptu, by the way, which I said back at the beginning of the reading, but that's okay. I like, this is me practicing what I'm preaching. Literally everything that I'm doing right here, right now is this, the uncertainty, because I'm like, okay, I feel like the divine wants me to talk about something, but I don't feel very prepared for it. I like to have an idea about what I'm going to talk about. I don't want to just, press record and then I'm just like, deer in the headlights, or I'm just rambling about, it's like when I record a video or do a reading, I know exactly what kind of reading I'm doing. So it's like, okay, boom, turn it on, start pulling cards, get into the mode, interpret the reading. No problem. Same thing when I'm live. I know what I'm doing. There's direction. But the divine's like, okay, well, let's just hit the record button and let's just riff. Like, I want you to talk about this concept, but just trust yourself, And so it's one of those things where like I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and it's helping me evolve and it's helping me grow, because I'm just learning how to kind of free flow with when the divine wants to speak to me about things that are spur of the moment. I can't overthink them. I can't analyze them. I can't get my ego involved in it. I literally just have to let go and let God, so to speak, right? Like, just hand it over to the divine. Like, okay, I'm here. Use me, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do. So I turned on the cameras, I pressed record, and then here I am practicing the very thing that I'm saying with you. And I know to you guys, it may not seem like a big deal. It's like, what's such a big deal about this? It's like, well, but if you knew me and you knew just how introverted that I am, and I'm no different, I'm no less human than you guys are. Like, you know, it took me years, guys. This is no, I cannot even tell you guys. I can't put into words. I could not record myself in front of a camera. I was a shit show. And if you guys knew the amount of courage that it took for me to be able to hit record, and I'm talking about by myself. I'm talking about when I'm just by myself with no intention of anyone ever seeing the video, just with my phone recording myself, just for me, just to do it. Like, I need to learn how to do this. I'm not going to upload it. No one's ever going to see this, but I just need to learn how to not shut down when I'm recording myself. And guys, I want to tell you, man, like, the minute that I hit record, it was like paralysis in my entire body. And I tried to fight through it. It's weird. It's a part of it makes me feel like a little emotional even talking about it, because it's just like, I felt so stuck. I was over here in the pain and despair. I felt so stuck. I felt so powerless. I felt so inadequate. And there's nothing more frustrating. There's nothing more frustrating than knowing that you have something inside of you. And you just want to access it. Like, I could feel it inside of me. It's like, man, like there's something inside of you, man. There's a greatness inside of you. There's a gift inside of you. And it's like, man, God, if I could just, like, when I would sit in my, there's a reason I'm telling this story, because I feel like maybe somebody out there is going to resonate with this. I would lay in bed and I would see it in my mind. I would see myself and the conversations that I would have and the types of speeches that I would give and the way I was helping people. And it was like I was watching myself as if I was somebody in a crowd. You know, like if you ever go to like, you know, to watch comedy, or you go to a seminar or something, right? And you even just go to church, you know, and you're the person that's out there in the audience, and you're watching the person speaking, right? That's how I would see myself in my mind's eye. It's almost like I was out in the audience watching me, but I could hear everything that I was saying. And I was like, oh my God, like that speech or that knowledge and the way that the communication and the fluidity of it, it was like, but it was me. I was like, man, he's so good. He's a badass. You know, I can always see it in my mind. It's not egotistical. It's just, I was viewing a version of me that I had not yet become. And so I was like, I need to become that. We all have to start somewhere. And I knew it's like the guy that I'm seeing in my mind, when I lay down and I close my eyes, I know that I'm supposed to become that man. And I would dream about it, and I would dream about it, and I dream about it, and I would feel the inspiration, that fire inside of me, that inspiration. I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. It would call to me. And I would see myself helping people, and I would see, you know, myself doing these amazing things to help people. And I watch these people, their lives being transformed and breaking free of all kinds of issues and problems and addictions and solving all types of issues and problems in their life. And I was like, that's why I'm here. And again, it makes me feel emotional, because it's like, that's why I'm here. I came here to do that. And it's not just sad tears. It's inspirational tears. There's still a part of me, even just talking about it and admitting it out loud to you guys. You know, it starts, it gets me into that motivation where it's like, man, I've got to become this guy. I've got to become him. He's in here right now. The fullness of the thing that I can see in my mind that I've seen for years of my life, that guy is alive in me right now. All of it, not some of it, all of it's here, right now. I just have to learn to access it. I just have to learn to believe it. I just have to learn to step out of my comfort zone to become it. But man, back like in 2016, when I first started, 2016, 2017, when I first started trying, I was defeated because I could not do 3 seconds of video. I could not look at myself in the camera of my phone for 3 seconds with that thing recording before hitting stop because I hyperanalyzed myself. I didn't like the way I said. I didn't like the words coming out of my mouth. It wasn't perfect. And because it wasn't perfect, and because I was focused on hyper-analyzing every little thing that I did, and that I didn't like the way that I looked, I didn't like the lighting, I didn't like the fact that it wasn't elegant, it wasn't what I saw when I closed my eyes. It wasn't that yet. And so I just felt defeated. But I would try again. And so finally, I remember turning my camera on, and I got a little tripod for it, and I turned my camera on my phone, and I was like, screw it. And I just turned that thing on, and I just let it record. And I was like, you know, I'm just gonna leave it running. And I would fumble. I was like, all right, start over. And I was trying to get myself to talk about something that I knew a lot about. I was like, man, if you can't talk about this, if I can't even talk about this thing, which I have a lot of knowledge about, then I can't talk about anything. And I knew it was something about the way that my brain was triggering me with the camera, because I was like, if this was a human being, I wouldn't have this barrier. So there's something about knowing that it's a camera, and there's something about my brain knowing that camera is recording me that's causing me to become self-conscious. And when I get into my self-conscious and I'm focused on myself, it's like I completely shut down and I can't get out of it. And that was so frustrating. And I knew this. I was aware of that I had this problem, but I didn't understand why the problem was there. And so I beat myself up until finally I lost that inspiration. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I can't do it. And it was so defeating, man, because I was like, man, I can't, how am I ever going to do anything? You know? And so I was like, the only way that I can communicate is through writing. That's it. But I knew that wasn't all that there was. I was like, it can't just be, I'm not here just to write. And I don't want it. I don't want to rely on my words. And I knew I was decent. Like if I had to rely upon, written communication, I knew that I could. And if I really, really tried, I knew that I could do it well. But I was dissatisfied with that. My soul was like, no, I know that I'm supposed to speak. I know that I'm supposed to talk. And if I can write something elegant, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to speak and say something elegant. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's the same. In my mind, it's the same thing. If I can write it and it sound good, then I should be able to speak it and it sound good. And the fact that there's a camera involved shouldn't affect that. But for some reason it did. So I was defeated. And so 2016, 2017, 2018, then finally in 2019, the thing that I needed, because this is how the divine works. the thing that I needed to help me overcome that fear was given to me. And so this is years ago, obviously, 2019, back when I was more so in my older beliefs, was definitely more involved in church and religion and things like that. And I was serving at this church, and the pastor, who was a friend of mine, he basically, for Valentine's Day, he was like, hey, you know a lot about relationships and stuff. Why don't I'll let you, that weekend, whatever the Valentine's Day week, whatever the Sunday service was for that week of Valentine's Day. He's like, you can speak. And I just agreed to it. Like before I even realized what I was agreeing to, I just said yes. Like it just came out of me. I was like, yeah, I want it. And then he started telling me what I was going to need to do. It's like, it's going to have, you got to be at least, we want to make sure that you give like at least three major points, and it can't go over like 30 minutes. So I've got 30 minutes to basically give 3 points, and I can have a few sub points. And I was like, okay. I mean, it didn't sound hard. That part didn't sound hard. I was like, oh man, like this is great. And he gave me freedom to basically talk about whatever I wanted. It's like it's romance and relationships. You can talk about whatever you want. It just needs to fit this format. And so that part was exciting. But then I had 2 weeks to basically force myself to overcome my fear of speaking, and it had to be organized to the point, and I couldn't go over 30 minutes. So shit got real fast, and I was basically panicking. And so I was like, all right, don't panic, dude. Like just, and I'm an introvert, by the way. And so I'm like, all right, we can do this. And so I figured out what I was going to talk about, and I would time myself. I took my phone, and I would hit on the timer or the stopwatch, and I just hit start, and I would start going through what I wanted to talk about. And then it was always over. It was like 45 minutes or an hour. And I was like, damn it, I got to cut this in half. So I try again. It was still over. Try again. It was still over. And so then I was like, all right, I need to use notes. And so then I was trying to use notes, whether they were written or whether they're on my iPad, whatever it was. And I would get distracted because I would lose where I was and what I was saying. And then I'd be looking, all right, where? And I was like looking down, looking for the last note that I was on. And I was like, oh my God, this is a shit show. And then so now, I had like, I don't know, 3 days to be ready. And I was like, all right. So then the fear really started to kick in. I was like, you know what? I just need to call him, and I just need to tell him like, I can't do it. Which really sucks, because that's only going to give him 3 days to figure out, how to basically bail me out. And then I'm inconveniencing him, because he's going to have to figure out, and he's going to only have 3 days, to prepare for this. But I was like, well, what else am I going to do? I mean, I can't just show up unprepared. And so I got really close to calling him, the pastor, and I got really close to just chickening out. And this is where that going back to the drawing here, this is where that fear barrier is. It's like where, your fulfillment, the breakthrough, the thing that you're needing for the next evolution of your growth is on the other side of this fear barrier. This black line is the fear barrier. And it's like, I got to the edge, right? I've done all this work. I was practicing. I was doing my part. I was being responsible, but it was a disaster. And I knew I was a disaster. And I was being hard on myself. I was just, I had unrealistic expectations of myself and what I thought was required of me. And so I was making it much harder on myself than it needed to be. Hindsight 2020, obviously. And so I was scared shitless, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cop out. I'm gonna call him up, call the pastor. I can't do it. I'm so sorry. I just, but something inside of me said, no, you're not. You're going to do this come hell or high water. And if you suck and you fail and you get up there and everybody is like, this is the worst thing ever. And, and you're a complete embarrassment of yourself, you're going to do it. And when I just said yes to all of it, when I said yes to all of it, that this could be a disaster. I might suck. I could embarrass myself. This might be the last time I ever speak or even try this. Something inside of me said yes. And I just said yes to it. And I was scared fucking shitless. And I said yes. And this is what happened, guys. Because I said yes when I was the most scared, most afraid, the divine provided me with the thing that I needed. The thing that I needed was a very, very simple fix. I had this idea come to me instantly. I was like, get some note cards. And it was like, I was being told. It wasn't an idea. It was like, my higher power was telling me, get note cards. So I got note cards. It's like, all right, write the first thing, just the first concept. Write that on the note card. Like the first little chunk of information that you want to talk about. Next note card. Write the next thing. The next thing. And so I had these note cards that gave me just bite-sized chunks of what I needed to talk about. And all I had to do, and it's crazy how this worked out. All I had to do, and I timed myself. I hit, I went back to my phone. I went to the stopwatch. I hit start, and I looked at the note card and I knew, okay, all I have to do is talk about this. And when I was done talking about that, I flipped the card over, and then there was the next thing I needed to talk about. And then the next thing. And when I went through all those note cards, I was done in 35 minutes, which was right within that time frame. And because I knew that I could do that, like 90% of the stress and anxiety left me. I was like, I can do this. Like, even if it's awkward and it's terrible, at least I can fulfill my promise. And I did not have any grand expectations for me. Trust me. My first time ever standing on stage in front of a bunch of people, public speaking, like I had very, very little expectations about anything. I just wanted to get it over with at this point. So then it was D-Day. Sunday, show up, and he calls me up, and it's go time. It's like, now shit's real. Like there's no backing out now. So I got my note cards. I got the little podium there. And for like the first 10 minutes, I was definitely in fear and self-preservation, but then something happened. Next thing I know, it's like all that fear just left. And I was in a flow state. And I didn't really even need the cards anymore. And somehow, I don't remember, going through everything, all I just remember is that next thing I know, I was done and the 35 minutes had gone by, and I was like, that was it? Just like that. It was all over. And it felt like 10 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes had gone by, and off to the left, well, I guess from their perspective, it would have been the right side of the stage. There was a line. There was a line of people waiting to talk to me. And I was sweating, dude. Like, I was just like, oh, thank God. Thank God I made it. I got through this. And I was so relieved. And I was just like, oh my. But then there was an excitement though too. Because I was like, I got up, I faced a fear, I faced a challenge of something that I expected to just be a complete shit show. And then when it turned out better than I expected it to, just my own self-judgment, the judgment of myself, it went better than I expected it to. That just made me feel good. But that wasn't even the icing on the cake. The icing on the cake was that when I went to get off the stage, literally, like, I had 10 people waiting for me, and each one of them wanted to talk to me personally. And they were all basically telling me like, oh my God, you just don't know. Like, your story is so similar to my story and the things that you said. And it's like, I'm just like sitting here like, I don't even remember what I said, but I knew in my mind it didn't feel very profound. But these people were so touched by what I said and the information that I shared, that they were willing to wait and stand and literally wait in line to speak to me. I'm like, this is just doesn't even make any sense to me. This is just mind blowing to me, because I was just proud of myself for doing the difficult thing, and then I just wanted to go run and hide because I'm an introvert. I'm like, all right, great, cool, thanks. All right, get off the stage. Now like, let me just disappear and not be seen anymore. But here are all these people who wanted to talk to me. And so the reason I shared this video with you, this story, not the video, the reason I share this story with you all is that never again did I ever have a problem from that day moving forward, talking, recording myself, speaking, anything. And that's why I'm here with you guys. It's an evolution of that. So I could not be here with you guys doing these videos, doing these readings, if all the way back in 2019, I had not confronted my fear of speaking. And I almost copped out. I almost quit. Almost gave up. Right when I got to the edge, instead of facing the challenge and saying, I don't care. Come hell or high water, I'm going to keep my word. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to back out. I'm not going to, I'm not going to, pass the baton back to my pastor friend. When I said yes to something, I committed. I knew I had 2 weeks. He told me what was required of me, and I said yes to it. That's not his fault. That's my fault. I am the one who made that commitment, not him. And if I didn't feel I couldn't have done it, I shouldn't have said yes to it. So I'm a man of my word. If I say yes, I fucking mean yes. And I'll find a way, I'll figure it out, or I'll just fail. I'll take the hit, right? But my word is my truth. And that's just one of my deepest core values. And so because I said yes and I meant it, even though I was deathly scared, I would not give myself the free pass to back down. I was like, no, you're going to do this. And because I didn't give myself a way out, or there's a saying, if you want to take the islands, you have to burn your boats. Right? And sometimes we need that. Sometimes we have to be the ones to step in and go, no, you don't get to back down. You don't get to cop out. You don't get to chicken out. Sometimes you need to remove all exit strategies, all ways out. You need to basically, hey, there's only one way forward, and it's through. It's through the mountain. It's through the challenge. It's through the adversity. And in that moment, like I said earlier, when in the moment of panic where I was about ready to throw in the towel, when I finally said yes, and I was like, no, you're going to do this no matter what. When I said yes to it and I didn't let the fear push me down, the divine was right there with the answer that I needed, which was the note cards. And it's the dumbest thing in the world. Like hindsight, it's laughable. It's laughable that those little freaking note cards and that it's just the teeniest tiny little adjustment changed everything. It gave me peace. It gave me clarity. It gave me organization. Like it was the hack that my mind needed for whatever reason. My brain needed those little note cards done just the way that I did them to be my security blanket. And then that one little adjustment got me through that speaking engagement. And then because I faced the fear of doing this public speaking altogether, it broke my fear of talking in front of anything. So I could talk in front of you, I could talk in front of a camera. And if someone called me up and said, hey, I want you to come talk about whatever in front on a stage, I could do it now. You know, because I don't have the fear of speaking anymore, and I don't hyperanalyze myself. I know that I'm still not the guy that I see in my mind. I'm still not that good yet, but I know that I'll get there. And I'm not going to get there by beating myself up and focusing on every little flaw that I have because, you know, I'm a terrible speaker right now. I have moments when things come through me and they flow and they're poetic and they sound good or they just sound professional. And then the rest of the time, I'm just a stammering shit show. Like, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I've done it a million times in this video. But, you know, at least I've made progress. And so I'm sharing this with you guys because whatever your fear is, we relate through stories. Whatever your fear is, maybe you feel like I was sharing earlier in my story. You're like, man, like I feel so like I suck and I just can't even get started. And you're beating yourself up like I used to. Like I couldn't even press record and look into my phone without going paralyzed. And I hated it. It's like, turn my phone off. I could talk about this stuff for hours and hours and hours and hours. But the minute I turned my phone on to record, I couldn't get a word out. There was that invisible barrier that needed to be broken. And the divine knew, like, well, the only thing that's going to really break this for him is he's going to have to be put like in the hot seat, like the real hot seat. Like, let's just bypass the cameras and all that shit. Let's just get him out in front of people. Because if he can stand in front of a room of like 100 people and speak to them from a stage, then he can do anything at that point in terms of speaking, right? That's what I needed. See, the divine always knows what we need to get us to get us through to the next best version of us so that we can actually finally start doing the things that are inside of us that we're craving to do. Because somewhere inside of you have that thing. There's something inside of you that either you don't know how to do or you see yourself doing or you're afraid of doing, but you can see it in your mind. When you close your eyes, you can see yourself doing it or you can see yourself creating it. But for whatever reason out here right now, the version that you are is not the version of the thing you see in your mind's eye. And that can be very defeating and very disempowering, very frustrating, especially when you're not sure how to overcome the fear or how to overcome that barrier that's preventing you from getting out of this comfort zone and into this thing that you're wanting to do, or just you getting out of where you feel stuck or disempowered and into the thing that you know you're called to do. And so there's no one size fit all magic pill approach for any one of us. But what I can say, the magic pill is just the divine, right? Like the divine will provide you with the thing that you need. But again, we're the ones who have to take it. So in my example, I had to, at the moment I wanted to quit, at the moment when the fear and despair was taking me over, I had a decision to make. All right, are you going to back down? And are you going to quit? Or are you going to commit? It's either quit or commit. It's one or the other. And in that moment, I was so frustrated with I was so frustrated at myself for the frustration of having that problem. I didn't even care if I failed at that point. I was just like, no, you're not going to quit and back down anymore. You're going to fucking do this. Like, and if you fail and you suck, well, then that's what you get, but you're going to commit. Like, I'm so sick and tired of feeling powerless and helpless. Like I'm going to do this. And it's either going to somehow magically, it's going to come together, it's going to work, or I'm going to fail and I'm going to suck. But, you know, I was so frustrated and angry by being frustrated that I couldn't do the thing that I chose to commit, even though a part of me wanted to quit. But because I chose to commit, the divine honored that commitment and said, okay, that's what I was looking for. That was the mustard seed of faith that the divine was looking for. The divine was waiting for me to make a decision and choice. Remember, the divine will not violate our free will. The divine's waiting, saying, okay, what do you want to do? You're scared and you're afraid. You don't know what to do, but I'm here. I've got the thing that you need. You just don't know it yet because you have to make that decision. And when I committed and I was like, okay, I'm going to figure something out, or I'm just going to fail and I'm going to suck. The divine's like, no, you're not going to fail and you're not going to suck. I just needed to see that you were going to push through the fear. I just needed to know that you wanted this bad enough. You want to beat this thing. And when I said yes, regardless of my fear, regardless of the unknown and the uncertainty, the divine said, here, do this. That's how the divine does anything. And that's the message for all of us. Spiritual uncertainty. We have to say yes to the thing that we're afraid of, and then the divine will give us the thing that we need to show us that there was no reason to be afraid. Because remember, the divine will not give us anything that's not in our highest good. You failing, your spiritual call and your spiritual mission in life is not in the highest good of you or those that you're meant and called to serve. That doesn't make any sense. So the divine isn't waiting for you to fail your spiritual journey, your spiritual destiny, or whatever that thing is for you, whatever your call in life is. That's not in your highest good. What's in your highest good is for you to evolve and grow and find confidence and do the thing that you're meant to do successfully. So the divine isn't going to just let you crash and burn and fail. The divine already has the thing that you need, whatever that thing is for you, that will help you achieve the next step. And that's all you need to know. Like I didn't need all the other steps for me. I just needed the one little hack. And I didn't even realize that the little hack, the little note card hack, I didn't even realize that the note card hack was, I didn't understand that wasn't even the big picture. I didn't realize that what I was being given in the moment to free myself of my own limitations was setting me up for something bigger, which is, hey, these little note cards are just going to allow you to work through something that's going to set you free from this fear and the struggle that you've been having for years. So you're never going to have to revisit this ever again in your life, because once you've done it and you've conquered it, you never have to go back to it. How cool is that? When you beat this fear or this uncertainty, whatever this thing is that's holding you back, whatever that story is for you, you'll never have to go back and beat that thing again. When you win the level, you beat that monster, you beat that level, you're done with it forever. You'll never go back and have to relearn it again. And so it's powerful. And every time you win, every time you get a win in your spiritual journey in that regard, you feel you get to experience a whole nother level of fulfillment too. And so I just look back over my tiny little journey so far and things that, sure, compared to other people, we can always do that, which is stupid, comparing yourself to other people, right? Sure, maybe for other people, if you're going to compare, it's it's not that big of a deal, but for me, it was a big deal. For you, it could be a big deal. So something that's simple or easy for somebody else might have been terrifying for someone else. So that's just it's pointless to compare yourself, right? And that doesn't matter. All that matters is you focusing on you and you focusing on your spiritual destiny. That's it. That's the only thing you need to focus on. And for me, just a little bit of things that I've done, overcoming my fear of speaking in a camera, finishing a book, something, and now about to finish a second book, creating a YouTube channel, and just feeling the freedom that anytime I want, I can come out here, I can press record, and I never have that sense of limitation on me that I can't share the knowledge and information that comes through me. And even so more now, to where it's like I've learned to let go, and I've learned to trust myself, and I've allowed the confidence of my gift to come through so much to where it's like now I can just go, I can do, like, for example, when I do my live readings, I show up and I just kind of I almost take the back seat. I'm just like, I'm here, let the divine kind of takes over, and whatever comes out of me comes out of me. And I'm just here hanging out, just observing, watching what's going on. It's not my knowledge. It's not my information. I just become a channel. And so that scared guy back in 2017, 2016, if I could go back in time and look at him, I'd be like, dude, you're a badass and you're going to get this. You can't see it. You can't see it yet, but you're going to get this. You're going to conquer it. You're going to master it. And I know that a me that's 5 years ahead of my future, if he could talk to the me that I am right now, he'd be like, dude, the stuff that you're going to be doing 5 years in the future, where you're going to be, the growth that you've created within yourself, you have no idea. And that's why it's about the journey. It's not about the destination, right? So I lied to you guys, not intentionally, but I said I was going to do a reading, but I just realized this went almost 2 hours. So I'm gonna leave it here because I feel like the divine is just telling me, like, hey, look, the main message that the divine wanted to speak has been spoken. Like, this is what the divine wanted to share through me to all of you, using my own stories, my own examples. And I'm in the process of becoming just like you guys are. We're all at different places in our spiritual journey. We're all experiencing different hurdles, obstacles, and challenges. And, last year's fears, 5 years ago fears may not be the fears that you're experiencing today. Next year's fears, hopefully, won't be this year's fears, right? It's like, hopefully, we'll continue to challenge ourselves enough in learning how to have faith to where fear isn't really a thing so much anymore. It's just we learn to trust more than we learn to fear. It's like, hey, and it doesn't make it any less comfortable. And I've admitted this many times on my channel to you all, especially if you've ever been to one of my live tarot readings. I say this all the time. Like, when I first sit in my chair, especially when it's live, because I can edit these videos. If I don't like something, I can hit stop. I can edit it. I can start over, whatever. But when it's live, you can't just stop. You can't edit things out, right? Like when you're in the hot seat, you're in the hot seat. So, for the first 5 minutes, there's always that little bit of anxiety. You know what I mean? It's not like it used to be 5-6 years ago when I was terrified and I couldn't do it. But a little bit of it's there. Even to this day, I still have a little bit of that feeling, and it takes about 10 minutes for me to kind of get past it. It's not enough to where it's crippling or it really affects me in any type of way, but it's there. And I know that it's there, and I acknowledge that it's there. And there's a part of me that kind of likes that it's there because it's always a reminder of it's like I overcame you little bastard. That fear that's there. It's like, no, I want to keep you out here. I want to keep you alive. I'm not going to completely destroy that fear. I'm going to keep it just enough alive because I always want that fear to see that I won and I beat it. I want it to always be there just enough so that I can go, yeah, you thought you were going to keep me down. You thought you were going to beat me. Like, no, you're going to watch me now. You're going to watch me grow and evolve and get better and better and better and better. So that fear is like my trophy now. And so when I feel it, I just sit with it. I'm like, okay, I remember you. And I remember when you used to run the show and you thought you were going to stop me from doing this. And how the tides have turned. So, I hope that this video, this message was inspiring or beneficial for somebody out there. Again, this was completely impromptu. I knew that the divine wanted me to talk about stepping out of the comfort zone, dealing with spiritual uncertainty, and just learning how to have faith and trust to keep moving despite not always knowing the how. Not always feeling equipped, not always feeling ready, not always feeling worthy, but just facing the fear and doing it anyways, right? Like courage. Just do it scared. And that was my breakthrough. I wanted to quit. I wanted to call my pastor. I wanted to bow out, but something inside of me rose to the occasion and I did it fucking scared. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to do it even if I fail, even if it's miserable. And then the divine's like, no, I'm not going to let you fail. Get you some note cards, do the thing. I did, we've already gone through the story. But anyway, you can do it. Whatever the thing is, you can do it. Whatever you're scared of, do it scared. Let the divine prove to you, just like the divine proved to me, that as long as you commit instead of quit, the divine will give you something that you need in that moment that will give you the bigger success. And you may not even understand. The thing that it tells you to do may not make any sense, but just go with it. Trust it. Just be like, okay, I don't know how this is going to help. I don't know what this is going to do. Just go with it. Just trust it. Just do the next thing and then do the next thing after that and then do the next thing after that. And the next thing you know, you'll be like me and you'll be like, oh my God, I did the thing that I thought was so scary. And it wasn't a disaster. In fact, it turned out way, way better than I ever even thought that it could, because there was at least 10 people in that room who needed me to know that I touched their lives. And I'm like thinking in my mind, I'm like, yeah, well, if you could have, been reading my mind and connected to me when I was on stage, you would have been like, this guy is scared shitless. But that wasn't the perception of their reality. If I had been inside of their shoes, I would have been thinking like, man, I'm being spoken to right now. Man, I needed this right now. Man, this is transformational for me. Wow. This guy has inspired me. Isn't that crazy to think? that while we're over here doing the thing scared, beating ourselves up, somebody else out there is having a totally different experience of the thing that we're doing scared. You could be changing somebody's life right now because you were scared. You could be impacting somebody's life while doing it scared. There's something that you could be doing scared, unsure, uncertain, not the best, and somebody else's life could be completely changed, affected, inspired, influenced for the better. That's the spiritual mission. That's the spiritual journey. So thank you guys for listening to this. I know this was very, very long, but this was the message that I have for you. Even if it's just for one person, that's fine. I'm going to upload it anyways. I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to leave it and let it be. And this is a off the cuff, just random message, but somebody out there needed to hear this. Otherwise I wouldn't have felt led to come out here and record it. And you know what? If anything else, I get to speak to me. So I recorded it for myself. So anyways, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you soon. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. All the other information is in the description box below. And as always, my friends,
I'm not a bloody psychic.